This is tips and tricks to create a non-toxic nursery to help your baby or toddler sleep 12 hours a night. Hello, my name is Aaron and I'm in my son's nursery. He's over a year and a half old, and ever since he was 5 months, he has slept 12 hours a night. Almost perfectly since then, with very few exceptions. Now, there may be a lot of luck, or there might be a lot of reasons unknown why a baby might not sleep through the night, but I just want to share some of the tips and tricks that me and my wife have done to our nursery and to our son's lifestyle to help him sleep 12 hours. The first thing we did is really focus on the air quality. So we got a fan on the ceiling of the nursery. That's super important to have constant airflow in the room. It's built in. You could obviously just add one, buy one on Amazon. Super important. If you go down the rabbit hole of air quality, you will learn that moldy, dirty air in our homes is causing many problems, including for our babies and toddlers. So we want lots of fresh air. So air movement, a fan is gonna also help the temperature be regulated better. And then here we have an air filter. I just bought this one off Amazon. In the future, I would like to buy much better ones. A lot of the different people I follow swear by the Jasper. At the moment, if I was going to get one, that's the one I would get. But this is just a cheap one off Amazon, and we run it at full blast at all times, especially at the night. But I run it at full blast just to make sure that there's airflow, and if there's anything in the air, hopefully this will filter it out. I think that does make a big difference. Moldy air is causing all sorts of problems, not good for everyone, including kids, and I don't think people realize that at all. My first thought, that's one of the biggest changes you can make, just get an air filter, open your windows during the day. For our HVAC system, we also have a energy return system, I believe it's called, where it's bringing fresh air in from outside. We run that thing full blast basically at all times. We try to keep our humidity in our home low. I have it set that it runs as long as the humidity is above 35%. So it's basically running at all times, bringing fresh air into the house, and then obviously coming through the vents, there's fresh air into this room and into the entire house. And I think that makes a huge difference as well, preventing mold growth and just making sure you have the highest quality air as possible. The next one, the mattress. We invested in a super high quality, non-toxic mattress. This is the Naturopedic mattress, I believe. It is one of the highest quality ones that we could find online. No flame retardants, no forever chemicals, anything like that. It was expensive at, I think, around $500 Canadian. Most people are probably only spending $100 or $200 and just buying it from Amazon. Huge investment. I watched a video where a guy talked about a study of how SIDS, one of the root causes, is actually caused from toxicity from mattresses. At first, I didn't believe it, but then I watched the video and went a little bit more into it. In my mind, it made a lot of sense, where to avoid SIDS, what do they recommend? Having a fan for airflow, and they want babies to sleep on their back, which would keep their mouth and their nose farther away from the toxins that are released from a crib. For me, that makes a lot of sense. So investing in a super high quality mattress was very important. Get the toxins out of your nursery, and I think the mattress is probably one of the most important ones. And I think that's going to obviously affect their sleep. If they're breathing in any toxins that are being released from the mattress, that's not going to help them. The next point is heat. We actually have a heater right here, and it's actually running right now in the nursery. On, I think, day 3 or day 4 from our son being born, he was crying before going to sleep, and he kept waking up in the middle of the night again and again and again. We decided, hey, let's change something up. Let's swaddle him really well, and let's turn the heat up in the house because I like it cold. I think we had it at like 19 or 20 degrees Celsius, and my wife was actually scared that he was too hot. I was like, okay, let's try something different. Let's turn the heat up. Let's swaddle him better. And he immediately fell asleep within like 5 minutes and slept for several hours longer than he had at any point. And ever since then, we invested in a room heater. The nursery here is actually on the far end of the house, and there's only one thermostat in the center of the house. So the center of the house temperature could be very different than the corner of the house. His nursery here has a exterior door and a large window, so it can bleed a lot of heat during the winter because we're here in Canada. So we have this heater here that runs at 23 degrees at all times. So it's always going to kick on if it gets lower. So I think having the room at a higher temperature it seems to work really well with him. One of the next things that I've really focused on is the avoidance of EMF, electric magnetic fields. I read a book a year or two ago and realized how detrimental EMFs can be to our health and to our sleep. So one of the first things we realized is that we have a Nanit baby cam, which is high in EMFs, obviously. And I tried to convince my wife to buy a wired cam, which costs about double what the Nanit cam, and there's only one place I could find it. If you're looking, it was Tech Wellness. If I go back in time and buy a camera before we bought the Nanit, I would have bought the camera from Tech Wellness, but we had already bought the Nanit, and you can see all sorts of statistics and great information about your baby's sleep. So my wife didn't want to give that up. So we're like, okay, we're keeping the Nanit. We're not turning the Wi-Fi off at night, but let's make a couple changes. So one very simple thing that I did is just try to pull the crib out about a foot from the wall. That is just going to separate the distance from the camera and from the wire and the plug. And it doesn't seem like it makes much difference, but I believe it does. I actually got an EMF reader, put it right up against the base of the crib, and was able to get a fairly high reading. Pulling it even just a foot away, the numbers dropped off by a large margin. Getting your baby's potentially head and body, which is right up against the baseboard of the crib, they could be only maybe 2 or 3 inches from it, but pulling it away from a foot from the wall is immediately gonna triple or quadruple the distance. For our next son, actually when I installed the Nanit cam, I even installed it a foot higher to create farther distance from the bed. And in the future, what I would like to do is actually get an electrician in and install a plug right where the camera is, so then the camera and the wire can be side by side so that you don't have this wire running down the wall. I also bought a grounded plug and got that installed as well. So the wire is even more grounded through the USB, because most USB cables are not naturally grounded through a plug. So I got that from shieldingshop.com, I believe, as well. To also lower the EMF, we used to have sound machine and our air purifier closer to the crib and right by the rocking chair as well. I took the EMF meter and the numbers actually went off quite a bit. So I put the air filter in the far corner of the room, as well as the heater and as well as the sound machine, to get it as far away as possible from the bed and from the rocking chair where my wife and son spends quite a bit of time as well. So just distance is your friend, even if that means just moving the crib just a couple inches or all the way up to a foot. It's hard to see it from day to day, but I think overall it does make a difference. And if you have that meter, like I have a tri-field meter that I just bought off Amazon, you can actually see the numbers change. One of the next things we focus on is light. We want it as dark as possible, but only at night. During the day, if he's napping and there's light that gets through the curtains, that's fine. We don't want our kid to have to sleep in only a pitch black room. We want our son to be able to sleep during the day with some light coming through the curtains, so that's not a big deal and he's just used to that. But at night we want it as dark as possible, especially if he's gonna sleep 12 hours. We don't want any light to disturb his sleep at all. So we have big curtains to cover the windows up as much as possible. And I bought stickers to cover up any light that leaks. We have a fire alarm on the ceiling that had a little blinking light. I literally got a blackout sticker, put it on the light. Our heater that I talked about earlier had some lights that would never go away if it's currently on, so I just put some blackout stickers on that. And the air filter always would have a light on as well, but you can go through the light settings and turn them all completely off, so they only show up if you start actually messing with the settings. So simply just turning off as many lights as possible and covering up the ones you can't, I think makes a big difference. Also, I invested in flicker-free red LED lights. They switch between yellow, orange, and red by the flick of a switch. You flick them on and they're yellow. You flick them on and off again, they turn orange. Flick them on and off again and they turn red. And so then at night, when we're reading to my son, or my wife is breastfeeding before he goes to bed, we try to have the red lights on so that he's not getting this bright blue LED light in his eyes right before he goes to sleep. The next thing we do is we have our son sleep in a sleep sack. Even though he is still over 1.5 years old and We're not sure how long we're gonna do it till. This works as his blanket, but it also makes it so that he can't move his legs. I think he would definitely be trying to crawl out of the crib by this point because he's quite a good climber if the sleep sack didn't contain his legs. So we've been swearing by that because we don't have to worry about him trying to climb out of the crib. We've seen him not try to at all. Kind of makes him stuck in place. And then we don't have to worry about any blankets, any pillows or anything like that. He sleeps in just the crib with just his sleep sack, and he's comfortable, he's warm, and we don't really have to worry about him escaping and climbing out with both feet. The next point on that would be leaving the crib completely empty. We have no toys of any kind. We have nothing else. It's just the mattress and himself and the sleep sack. I think this works really well because there is then no distractions at all. When he's going to bed, he's not playing with a toy. He's not looking for a toy. He's not crying that he doesn't have his toy anymore. And most mornings when he wakes up, he will sit there from anywhere from 10 minutes all the way to sometimes as much as an hour. And he's usually very quiet just sitting there. Now, when that first happened, we were almost like, this is not really a good thing. We're almost just letting him sit there. However, he slowly just kind of talks to himself and he thinks to himself the whole time. So I believe this is actually a very good thing. Most of us don't spend a lot of time alone or in our thoughts. And so the fact that he can sit there and maybe just talk to himself or just be in his own head before the day starts, I think really solidifies a lot of the language and a lot of the words that he's learning. Sometimes you'll wake up in the morning and through the camera, we'll hear him saying different words that he had learned the previous day or the previous week. And it's as if he is taking that time to break down the previous days while he's alone, while there's no distractions. And he's totally okay with it and enjoys it. And then usually if he starts to cry at all, we'll come get him, or after 30 minutes, we'll come and get him. It seems to work for us, and it potentially could work for other people. Nothing in the crib, we swear by it. It works great. Next thing to try to do is limit as many toxic things in this nursery as possible. One way to do that is whenever you open a brand new toy or piece of furniture or anything, we try to air it out as much as possible. We actually set up this nursery about 4 to 6 months before our son started sleeping in here. This just allows everything to off gas. Whenever you have a new product, especially things that are made with chemicals and plywood and all these glues and paints, they tend to off gas chemicals for a very long period of time. So if you can just have it open and get airflow before your kid starts being around it or sleeping in it on a regular basis, that's just gonna get rid of some of the toxins. I've heard a lot of people say that you should almost always buy used things for your nursery, like a used dresser or crib or solid wood. Those are two options. We did not buy solid wood. In the future, if we have multiple more kids, I would like to buy solid wood options. However, we've had these for a while now. They should have off-gassed. And we tried to buy as high quality as we could at the time for what we wanted to spend. We actually have this rug here on the floor that my wife just bought from Amazon, I believe. I don't know the quality of this rug. I'm sure it's not very good and probably full of chemicals. So in the future, I definitely would like to invest in a higher quality rug. I've learned a lot in the last 2 years since investing in all of this different stuff. And I've learned pretty much don't want to ever buy from Amazon unless you have to. For most things, you do not want to buy off Amazon. It is usually the cheapest and most toxic and simply the most convenient option. A couple other practices we do that don't have anything really to do with the nursery, but is with lifestyles, I swear, by avoiding the 4 S's. This is something I came up with. No sugar, no seed oils, no shots, and no screens. We believe this has made a huge impact on the health of our son's sleep. Sugar is obviously not good for anyone. A baby or toddler should not be eating sugar. Seed oils, if you look into that, is not good at all for our health. We all need a higher omega-3 to omega-6 ratio, and seed oils are very high in omega-6s, not to mention all of the other issues that they have. Shots, that's a whole other topic, but yes, shots in my opinion, and in many people's opinions, can be very, very toxic. That could impact a baby's health and a baby's sleep. And then screens. Our son has almost never looked at a screen. Obviously there's a little bit through our phones and the occasional time that there is a TV on or whatnot, but we do not watch TV as a family, and there is never TV on in the background. Blue light and screens are obviously very stimulating, and they will mess with your melatonin, which will affect your sleep, master hormone for that. And obviously, if it'll affect an adult, it will affect a baby. So avoid the screen as much as possible. I know that is hard for a lot of people. We have not done a screen at all. We've been able to figure it out. You just have to choose your heart. It is hard either way to raise a kid. I think you should go the route of, yes, they may not be as distracted as much with a screen, but you're gonna reap the benefits in other ways. Our son loves to read books, and I think that is partially because we avoid the screen, we avoid the TV. And one of the last points I have is to make sure that your baby or toddler is well fed. If your baby is waking up in the night, there's a potential that they are simply not getting enough food. My wife many times will do a dream feed. She'll put the kids to bed, and then maybe right before we're gonna go to bed, she'll go in and breastfeed the newborn or youngest again, slightly wake them up so that they get a top up of food, a top up of fat, of milk, so that they'll help them sleep through the night. One thing that I've really focused on is actually feeding our son grass-fed butter at dinner time and just throughout the day. He loves it, and just getting that fat content up, because I think in our society, too many people are eating carbohydrates, and that includes our kids and our babies. So if you can get that high quality fat content up, getting a high quality butter, literally we feed butter just straight to our kid with a spoon at dinner or closer to bedtime, and that's just gonna fill their stomach up and get them through the night so they're not waking up hungry. A little bit of grass-fed butter makes a huge difference. Add a little spoonful to every meal, or replace that as a snack instead of like a granola bar or something processed. Get that all out, get some real grass-fed butter in there. Your kid or toddler will absolutely love it. We also swear by buffalo milk as well, because it's way higher in fat. Again, get that fat content up. We do a grass-fed, grass-finished, non-homogenized buffalo milk. The only thing I wish it was non-pasteurized as well. You want to get it as raw and as real as possible. All this processing is just hurting all of us, including our kids. So we want to get them the highest quality, real food as possible. And that's going to help them sleep through the night, because they're going to be fed and they're going to have the fat they need, that they can heal and thrive and sleep through the night. Our son is 1.5 years old, and he has slept amazing for the last year of his life. And we know so many people that their kids don't sleep as well. I see it all over the internet, and I feel he's kind of a rarity. And maybe some of these things are making a difference and some are not. But I believe for the most part that all of these things are helping, even if it's just in the tiniest way. I'm sure there is still some luck involved, and there's a million other parts to the puzzle, but I just thought I would share some of the things that maybe you have not thought of, that they can maybe make a difference in your life by removing the toxic amount that is potentially in your nursery, and some tips and tricks to hopefully help your baby or toddler sleep better through the night. My name's Aaron. I'm obsessed with my health. I've seen huge improvements in my own health and life in the last 2 years, and I just want to share it to the world. Hopefully, tips and tricks that most people have not heard of. Even the regular stuff on Instagram, I'm always looking for the thing that really stands out to me that no one else really seems to know. So hopefully you found that in this video. If you can, make sure you subscribe so you can see more content from me, and let me know if you enjoyed these tips and if they end up helping at all. Really appreciate it. Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks, bye.